For more on these attacks on the Gulf states, we can cross to Doha and bring in journalist Hoda Abdel-Hamid. So, Hoda, what more can you tell us about these latest attacks? We heard that Abu Dhabi, there were big explosions there this morning.
Yes, indeed. As you said earlier, there has been quite a substantive wave on raining on the United Arab Emirates. It's the country within the GCC that has bore the brunt of the attacks, with more than 1,000 attacks since the beginning of the war. But I think the most significant one is on the desalination plant in Bahrain. Iran says it's in retaliation of a bombing that it says had originated from Bahrain. Now, targeting desalination plants in the GCC is actually targeting vital infrastructure, much more important than any oil or gas facility for the survival of the residents of this region. So certainly a big blow to Bahrain, which will also have the other five GCC countries scrambling to improve their security around those installations.
Now, Hoda, just before we played remarks from the Iranian president, and now yesterday he had apologized and seemed to indicate that Iran wouldn't strike the Gulf Coast unless they were hit first. Obviously, that does not seem to be what's happening as we see these strikes continuing. So what's the reaction been to his comments?
I think among the people, there's a lot of confusion. Yesterday morning, people around the GCC were quite relieved to hear those words coming out of the Iranian president. But then the reality was the complete opposite. And I think it has much to do with also the reaction of the armed forces within Iran. Some were not happy at all that the president had gone on social media to apologize. And the armed forces said that they're just they're not on the offensive, they're actually just defending their country, and that they're targeting what they see as legitimate targets, i.e. U.S. assets in the region. The reality is obviously different. You have said it just a few minutes ago. Hotels are being hit, desalination plants are being hit, oil infrastructures are being hit. Debris is falling on cars, causing death of civilians. So certainly it is a very chaotic situation at the moment. And I think it also plays with, it's a kind of psychological warfare, because people put their hopes high that maybe this barrage of missiles and drones will finally ebb and stop. But then the reality changes. So I think at this stage, and my guess is as good as yours, because the political landscape in Iran at the moment is quite opaque to understand, but you do wonder who is actually calling the shots at the moment, whether it's the diplomatic branch or the military branch of the government. Certainly the Revolutionary Guard is very angry from the strike on Ayatollah Khamenei on the first day. He went, and also many of the leadership of the Revolutionary Guard and the other members of the security apparatus. So it seems to indicate that there is a little bit of conflict going on there, or maybe some sort of vying for who will lead the country. As you know, they still have to announce who is the new supreme leader. So there must have been a lot of backdoor politics in there. And the words of the president did not bode well with some parts of the security forces.
And now, Hoda, shipping is shut down. Air traffic's been severely disrupted. The Revolutionary Guard said they can keep this up for 6 months. So how long can the Gulf states hold out if this crisis does drag on that long?
Well, this crisis is costing the Gulf states a lot, whether it's from loss of revenue from oil and gas. Just to give you an example, there is one estimate that says that so far it has lost at least $14 billion. Now, it also loses in its image, and that's probably the longest and the hardest thing to recover from. The Gulf states have been always this hub of stability, of peace, of sort of coexistence between all these different different communities. A lot of people, for example, when the Ukraine war started, had fled from Russia or Ukraine to the Gulf countries for safety. Well, that image is shattered. And then it's losing billions of dollars when it comes to the airlines. I mean, both Doha and Dubai airports are international hubs that bring billions of dollars into these countries. Well, that has completely stopped at the moment. So certainly there is a lot of challenges ahead. One of them also being food supplies. Most of these countries rely for the lion's share of their food consumption on imports coming either by road from Dubai or coming by road from Saudi Arabia. All that has to be rerouted at extremely high cost, and it will have to push the government to subsidize the food even further than it does already. So certainly, if this war goes on for a long time, there's an image that is shattered, but there's also a huge cost that the Gulf countries will have to recover from and will have to rethink. But also add to that the military cost of this war. So it will be a huge bill.
Hoda, thank you so much for keeping us updated. That's Hoda Abdel-Hamid there in Doha.